Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You were sucking all the energy out.
It's your fault.
All right. I think it's going to work now.
See, 'cause I'm here.
I hope all those people come back. That's all right. All right. Well, if you were trying to get on there earlier, my internet was going on and off, but we're back. We're back live now. So, what would we do without internet? We'd survive. We'd survive. So, hey, David. Thanks for coming back. We were having a problem with my internet. So, we're going to continue in our study. We welcome you today to my home and to our fellowship, and those who will be watching on YouTube. I've been getting some amazing comments. I'm getting some people on my Jerry and Sherry comments. Some people are getting upset. There's a lot of people go to YouTube that don't normally follow me and listen to me. So when they first hear something like Noah's Ark and what I taught about that, one gentleman was trying to defend the fact that there was a real Noah's Ark. And I said, I didn't say there wasn't a real one. I'm not telling you that these stories aren't real. I'm just telling you the allegorical, metaphysical understanding of them, because what happened 50,000 years ago or what happened 2,000 years ago doesn't help us at all today. So we need to understand how to apply these things to our lives today. And as I've said to many people, and most of you hear this, but some people may be new, we've discovered that the Bible is not about us personally, but it's about our awareness. It's about our conscious awareness. And the code to understanding if it's really the Word of God is, does it include agape love, which is love without a cause? And if that's not in there, then it's not Father. Father would never, the Bible says that God is love, right? It talks all about that. So if I'm nothing but love and you hear hate coming from my voice or what somebody says that I said, then you can be pretty sure that that's not accurate. That's what somebody said to try to control you. So that's where we're going. And hi, Todd Smith. Good to see you on here. Tamara. So we're in John 15:22 right now. And as I said last week, I'm not going to be reading the King James versions anymore. You can look them up, have a Bible with if you want to. But we've had enough of that. It's full of mistranslated words. It's full of all kinds of stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you my translation and my explanation in the notes. Did you get some notes? There's a set right there if you want them. And I've translated some of the words, and the other words I'm explaining metaphysically or allegorically how it understands. So let's read John 15:22-26. It says, if I had not, and what we're doing is we're following Jesus. I said we're following Jesus on a walkabout. Natasha, you ever heard of a walkabout? In Australia, it's more about something they do with young men, and it's a tough thing for them. But in the British language, it's talking about walking with somebody of importance and having great understanding. And so I'm applying that to Jesus, because after they had their supper, their meal, and we determined that that wasn't just a Last Supper with just bread and wine. That's the redemptive view. They all want to base it on bread and wine. But it was a full meal. They were just having dinner together. And he knew that the Romans were going to be coming getting him pretty soon. And so he gave them a more deeper teaching. And that's what this whole thing's about. So they had their supper. He taught them. And now he said, let's get up and go. And they're walking somewhere now. And so we're following them on their walkabout and we're listening to them. So it says, if I had come forth in awareness and spoken Logos truth among them, they would not have recognized their mistaken identity, talking about the religious leaders. But now their false awareness stands uncovered because he had done a lot of teaching and they had heard it. And they have no covering for it. In other words, their religion is not going to cover their problems. So those who resist me are not rejecting me personally, but because they do not perceive or know the eternal breath from which I flow. And if I had not expressed among them the works of life that no one else had revealed, they would not have seen their error. But now the light has shone, and they have both seen and they have resisted it. And by doing so, they reveal their blindness. So they hated me without a cause, meaning they resisted love and they had no consciousness. That fulfilled, if you would, what was written in their law consciousness. Because when you feed on the law, what do? You get condemnation, you get doubt, you get shame, you get fear. And so this is really important to us, because many people today are telling me that I'm beginning to listen to you. I begin to listen to Kay. I begin to listen to other teachers that's teaching these type of teachings, and I try to share them with my friends, and they're resisting me. And it really hurts me, and I feel alone and all the things. I know what they're talking about. But the truth is they're not resisting you. They're resisting the truth that's within inside of you. So as Jesus told his disciples, when you go door to door, if they resist you, don't receive the poison. Wipe that poison off your feet. When it said wipe the dust off your feet, it wasn't condemning the people inside. It was just saying you don't receive that. Because if you do, you're going to end up quitting. I promise you, if I based my whole life ministry on what people thought about me, I would have stopped a long, long time ago, even when I preached the redemptive view, because a lot of people attacked me then. So these words are important to us to understand. I'm not going to go through all the Greek and Hebrew in them, but some of them I want to remind people of. The first one is sin, for new people that's coming here. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for your blessing last week. Sin does not mean lying, cheating, cussing, eating too much ice cream. Sin means to miss the mark. And what is the mark? It's the mark of our identity. If you live in the United States of America, you're a citizen, you have rights. And if you don't live out of those rights, that's a sin. If you don't have a job, if you don't, whatever it is that you want to do, that's your right to do, but you don't do it, that's a sin to you, because either you don't know it or you're just not trying to avail yourself to it. Because it's a sin that we don't live out of abundant life. That's how I use the word sin. It's a missing the mark. It's not a sin against a God out there somewhere. It's not a sin against anybody. It's a sin against you. Because you're missing, and there's so many people missing life and life abundantly today. Am I living it in fullness? No, but I'm a lot more than I used to. and life and life abundant is it's an awareness. It's being able to love yourself. It's knowing that Elohim Ruach breath loves you, and knowing that there are people in this world that love you. Lately, everybody that I do business with, I'm telling them I love them. A guy came and bought some dug up my banana trees the other night, a young man. And I don't think he'd ever heard this before, but when he walked off, I said, hey, wait a minute, I love you. And he turned around and he immediately said, I love you too. He said it. And then he said, why did you say that? And I said, because there's so many people in the world that are hating people they don't know. Why can't we love people? And I say that to a lot of people. I said it to a lady at Walmart. And I said that after we got through talking. I said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. So don't be afraid. Because that's what Jesus said to everybody. He told him that he loved them. And so this without a cause means there was no reason for it. It was without a cause. It was unprovoked. Jesus really did not provoke them. He just spoke the truth. But the truth is what will sometimes, if you don't want to hear it, it keeps you in more and more bondage. But if you do hear it, then it makes you free. Makes you to be able to live out of that. So Jesus explains that the world's resistance is not rooted solely in malice. I mean, it's not that they hate you, but it's in ignorance. And that's why he said on the cross, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. He's talking about the Romans. He's talking about the Jewish leaders. They had no idea what they were doing. They were ignorant. They were blind. And that accompanies a mistaken identity. If you don't know who you are, then you're going to have malice in your life. You're going to walk in ignorance, and that's no fun. So metaphysically, sin is not a moral failure. It's missing the mark, and it's also a false perception of Father. If you see a God out there that can be angry and that can withhold from you or bless you according to what you're doing, whether you're giving or whether you're not or whatever, that's a false perception. That's a mistaken identity of Elohim Ruach breath. And I know you haven't been here a little bit, Natasha, but I did a study on the word God, and everywhere it's listed, it's Elohim Ruach breath. And the Bible, when it says man walked with God in the cool of the day, that phrase cool of the day is Ruach. So in other words, man treaded about as the breath of God, or Elohim. I'm trying to get God out of my vocabulary, because I don't want to use that anymore. So when Logos life enters consciousness, it exposes shadows, does it not? Even us, as we as we've grown in our understanding and we begin to understand the logos of the word, the creative spiritual activity in us that reveals the spiritual law of abundant life, it reveals those shadows up there sometimes that we still may have that are just absolutely not true. Lies about ourselves, that's the biggest one, is lies about ourselves. Even though we did things we shouldn't have done, that's still not who we are. And so that's what this does. It reveals that. So I love that, because as a minister, I don't have to go dig into your life and try to find out what you've done. We don't even need to deal with what you've done, you know. And so this unveiling is compassion. It's not condemnation. And he was telling them the truth. So where it says now they have no covering for their sin, this covering is the illusion that kept them unaware of the divine nature, and they bound that illusion to their awareness. You know, I did that Jerry and Sherry podcast on binding and loosing. If you haven't heard it, I encourage you to listen to it. It's very powerful. But what you bind to your life rules your life, right? You know, if I say I'm Tree of Life Fellowship denomination, I was born into this. What is that? Oh, that's okay. I've got my hearing aid on. It's really loud. If I bind myself to that religious name all my life, then that controls me all my life. And that will hinder me from learning anything else. And that's sad. What most religiosity done is they've raised their children in Islam or Buddhism or Christianity or whatever. They've raised them there all their life. And because of that, they can't hear the truth because they're bound with that. I love what Norma told us last week, and it didn't get on the video, so I wanted to share this with you guys. But I was talking about how we hear sermons over and over and over and over and over. And I mean, if you've been in church, much like I have all my life, my pastor of 38 years, I love him. I love him very much. He's passed on. But we heard the same thing. Some kind of light went off. Oh, this went off. I thought, the light went off. So he would preach the same messages every year, and I could almost say them word for word. And yet we just kept going and kept going. So Norma gave us a wonderful explanation. She had a niece in town and stayed with her, and she let her go to what do you call it? Bible school. So vacation Bible school. So she came home after one of the days, and she said, how are you enjoying it? And it was like, oh, it's okay, like that. And Norma said, well, what's wrong? And she said, well, reruns. Isn't that powerful?
Reruns. Mostly reruns.
Mostly reruns. That is so powerful. 5 years old, out of the mouth of babes. Mostly reruns. And what a story. I shared that on Facebook. So he continues here, those who hate me hate my Father also. This means that resistance to the Logos awareness is really resistance toward the divine source within. Donna, show her where that... I know, but I made some homemade stuff. It's up there. Show it to her. The resistance to the Logos is really resistance towards your own source that's within inside of you. It's resistance to life. So if you say, I don't want to hear that, I don't want to hear that. Well, guess what? You're resisting a life source that you're praying for all the time. You're praying for abundant life. You're praying for more money. You're praying for whatever it is you think you don't have. And yet a messenger comes to you with a message of life that doesn't line up with what you've heard all your life. Then literally you're resisting the answer to your prayer. Because I believe when people are praying to what they perceive to be a God out there, they're really speaking to messengers to come into their life. And that's why the Bible says we entertain messengers unaware. The angel, they put that angel in there, but there are people, it can be the farmer next door. It could be the trash man out there that you're talking to, and all of a sudden he has a word for you. You don't even realize he has a word for you. He can say, I was thinking about this week, and begin to tell you something that was exactly what you were praying for, right? And so that's what he's saying. They're resisting that. And he said, if I had not been among them, the works that no other has done. These works, these aren't not miracles. These were indications of who he was. We always talk about all of his miracles in the Bible, but they're just indications of who he was. And so he talks about these acts of compassion, the acts which was healing, but his desire was to give illumination, to reveal oneness. That's what he was here for, to reveal oneness. And as I taught in these And the article that Jerry and Sherry talk about was Jesus really there when Mary Magdalene came out of the garden? He was not. That's another one you might want to listen to. But it reveals that he had already done his work. And where the gardener said, where she thought it was Jesus and said, "Do not touch me, for I have not ascended," that's not what he said. Because that was that penal substitutionary doctrine there that made it think that Mary would make him unholy. That's kind of dumb, isn't it? So when you look it up, he says, "Jesus, not me. Don't attach yourself to me." I mean, to Jesus is what he was saying. Because Jesus' work is finished. Attach yourself to what Jesus came to teach you and to help you. And then finally he says, "They hated me without a cause." This saying was drawn from Psalms, and it carries a powerful metaphysical meaning. The world system resists love without a cause. No matter where you're at, if you're political, if you're medical, if you're financial, whatever, if you love people and you care for people and you go to a corporate board and you say, "We're not loving these people because we're not telling the truth, or we're really not trying to find the cure," or whatever it is, the world, that's what the world talks about as the world systems, they will hate you. We're not here to love people. We're here to make money, in a sense. And that's kind of what Jesus was saying. So that which cannot control love will always resist the Logos. So in our world, there are people who might tell you, you love, and then they're taken back and they're wondering what you want. And that's why people tell me all the time, my kids sometimes say, "Daddy, you can't go around telling people you love them." Well, yes, I can, because I only do it when I feel prompted to, and I trust that voice. I go to ugly people and tell them I love them too. So it's not that I'm lusting after a woman. Well, Allie told me once, "Daddy, those women don't want to hear that." I said, "You're sadly mistaken." She told me once they don't want to hear it from an old man. And I said, "You're sadly mistaken. They do want to hear it. They need to hear it." I would bet you, if I kept track of it, 80% of them told me that they've never been told they're beautiful. One lady, I told her she was beautiful, and a big tear started coming down her eyes. She was at least 50, something like that. And I said, "You've never been told that?" And she said, "Never in my life." Well, see, that was Logos, Elohim Logos, and I cried too. Because people need to hear they're loved. And Jesus told us to do that. So the reason is that they've never experienced love without a cause or without a requirement. So in this passage, Jesus reveals that pattern of all awakening. When Logos enters the awareness of people, it exposes what's been hidden. And so we're not wanting to expose sin the way we think it is. We want to expose to people these beliefs that you've had. They're not true. I don't need to dig into your past. But when I begin to, out of the Logos, begin to share with you that Father has loved you always. And the Bible says there's nothing can separate you from the love of God. But preachers have put a but to that. But you had to line up. You had to please. No, it says nothing can separate you from the love of God. Yes, we've done bad things. Yes, we've had bad thoughts. But that's not who we are. That's just what we've done. So he says, "I've not spoken the truth of the creative spiritual activity moving in them. If I would have, they would have known, they would have understood." In other words, he wasn't able to teach them because they didn't want to hear. I remember one time, I joke about her all the time, but one of my friends, when I was preaching years ago, and we were teaching the redemptive view, she's sitting in church on second row, put her hands over ears and said, "I can't take it. I can't take it. I don't want to hear no more. I don't want to hear more." It was the funniest thing. But that's kind of what they were doing to Jesus. I don't want to hear this because Moses is our father. And they fought for that. Moses is our father. Or, excuse me, Abraham. Abraham is our father. And they were so in love with their law that when the truth came, that's why they rejected it as a lie. And so once truth is spoken and attentively heard and embraced, awareness cannot return back to ignorance. Once you hear the truth, you will never go back. I'm assuming that you knew you were eternally loved before you met me, but assume that you didn't know that. But once you heard that and you listened to it and you understand it, nobody could ever tell you that again. That's why I can't go to a lot of churches anymore. I'm invited to come to meetings. I'm invited to listen, get on Zoom meetings. I know what they say. I can't do it. I don't want to hear it. I would be like Carol's daughter. I'd get up and say, this is a bunch of you know what. So this resistance that follows this is an egoic awareness. It's defending the illusion. You know, this has to be true because I've believed it all my life. It has to be true because my mom and dad taught me, and my pastor. And the majority, but you know what? The majority is always wrong. Yeah, honestly, in every system of the earth, the majority is always wrong. And that's what this most holy place is in the tabernacle of Moses. You have the outer court, which are in spiritually, it's the people who are just saved, and it's a redemptive view. Then you have the holy place where we're beginning to wake up, and the most holy places where people are beginning to live out of who they are. Not a lot of people doing that today. But I want to make my light shine so bright that they want it. I want to minister in such a way, and I pray that everything I do is in love, that it's not in judgment, it's not making you feel bad about who you are. I want to lift you up because I want to teach the way Jesus taught, and I feel like I do. And so they oppose love for no reason because love itself threatens. Love threatens control. It does. So for the awakened, this passage offers comfort. The resistance we face is not rejection to us, but it's the light that we reveal. They wouldn't be rejecting you if you didn't have light in you. If you were just doing what they were doing, thinking the way they do, talk the way they do, they would love you. And that's why I was told once, if I would compromise the way I teach, if I'd quit translating the verses and all that and tell people there's no such thing as a devil, I could preach all of the United States. Why? Because I would be conforming to them. And I don't want to conform.
On the other hand, there's a lot of people that are very attracted to what you're teaching.
Yes, they are.
And
everywhere.
Because it's opening up, making them free.
Right.
You know?
That's right. They're being called out all over the world. People are literally being called out, and they're just beginning to have dreams. They're beginning to, all of a sudden, they're sitting there, and this isn't satisfying me anymore. I have people I do phone calls with, and one gentleman told me that his whole life is turned upside down, and that's what it's supposed to do. And I love it.
I believe that's going to happen more and more.
It is. It is. It's like a giant flood going across the earth.
There's such a revival right now of younger. I mean, there's a huge revival. A man told me, and he goes to a mainline denominational, that you would never have thought this would happen. He said, for the first time in 30 years, I think he's been going to this church for 30 years, he said, we have such a huge revival going on, such a huge influx. And he said, all these people are really young.
Yeah.
They're so hungry right now.
They're looking for love.
Yeah, they really are.
But so what we need to be speaking over is these leaders will show them real love instead of putting them to work.
Yes.
And giving them all these laws. I remember Brother Garner years ago, and it broke my heart because I knew exactly what he was talking about. But he had gone to a meeting, and he was in the redemptive view, and they believed in getting people saved and everything. But he had gone to a meeting, and this young lady came down and had a glorious experience, gave her life to the Lord, and was so excited. And then he came home, and 2 days later he was out mowing his lawn thinking about how awesome it was. Then he said a horror feeling came over him. And he thought, why am I feeling this way? And he heard, because she's going to go to church next Sunday. Isn't that sad? Because she's going to be told that she's a sinner, and because she's still a sinner saved by grace, she's going to be put to work. You're going to have to learn how to pay tithe. They're going to have to learn how to work in the church, and they're going to have to learn how to please God. And that is true. And so when this Kirk was assassinated, it caused a big, huge amount of people going. And you know what I did? I joined every page there is on that. What do you call it? His theme? I forget what it is. But they have a theme. And they have groups all over the United States. And I've joined every one of them. And I'm writing down gentle reminders. And there's several people liking it. Some people are rebuking me, but several people, and a lot of them are young. And first thing I did is don't let anybody tell you that God didn't love you already, and that you were already holy, and I just put little tidbits on there because they really need to hear, because they're going to go to some of the wrong places, looking for love in all the wrong places. We used to think that was people, but it's actually systems. So Elohim Ruach breath in you would speak the following in your thoughts. When you speak the truth of the created spiritual activity and movement in you, It reveals what is hidden. Do not fear the resistance of those who still sleep in illusion, for their opposition is the trembling of awakening. The light exposes false identity, not to condemn, but to heal. The world system may resist love, for it cannot yet understand love without a cause. Yet continue to speak, to live, and to love, for every word of truth you release dissolves the covering of ignorance and causes awareness back into union with me. They are in a deep dream. They are in nightmares sometimes. You know what I'm talking about. You ever had a really bad nightmare and you woke up and said, oh, thank God it was a dream? I have many times. It was so real. And then I would wake up and I was really feeling bad about the whole thing. And I woke up and thought, well, oh, that was just a dream. Quit thinking about it. Well, people are living in a dream that was imposed upon them that doesn't belong to them. All right? Any more comments there? Okay, John 15, 26 to 27. If you just joined with us, I'm not reading the King James. I'm reading my Tree of Life explanation and metaphysical understanding of it. So, but when the consecrated messengers come to you, those whom I will further consecrate. Now, this is where Jesus had said, I'm not going to leave you alone earlier, but I'm going to send another comforter. But the word another means many. They didn't have a word in the Greek and Aramaic for millions or thousands or whatever. And the word comforter means leaders and teachers and guiders of truth. So in other words, Father, Elohim, in me, Elohim is going to send many, many more teachers to explain these things to you. So don't be worried, you're not going to be left alone. And earlier, like we said, we saw in the last few lessons back, he said, I'm going to go away, but I will come back. And I'm going to teach you more. If not the rapture, he came back to teach them more, and he did. And so again, but when the consecrated messengers come to you, those whom I will further consecrate, which include the disciples, and equip, and send from the breath of understanding as Elohim Ruach, they will bear witness of the awareness I have revealed and the life I have demonstrated. And you also will bear witness from within. For the beginning of my mission, mandate, and ministry, you have been with me in the same awareness and union. In other words, you've been around me. You know what I've been teaching. You may not understand it all right now, but I will come back and I will teach it to you. I personally believe all four, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, came to the place where they had tremendous revelation, tremendous understanding. I just don't think their writings were written down properly. Just like Jesus' words, I've showed you these words that they said Jesus said. He did not say those things. And that's what we're going through. So again, the word comforter means helper. It means messenger, which is parakletos. It means one called alongside. It means an advocate. And it means a teacher of truth. And then you look up in the Aramaic, it's M-E-N-A-C-H-E-M-A, Menchima, something like that. And it's consoler, and it's an awakener of remembrance. Isn't that amazing? Huh? Mashiach. No. Oh, she's my Aramaic person. Say it again. Mashiach. Okay, that sounds good. Mashiach. Something. It means awakener, consoler, and awakener of remembrance. That's powerful, isn't it? Did you ever, in your life in church, ever hear that Jesus spoke Aramaic?
No, but I'm excited.
I never did.
I've been reading a lot about it.
I never did.
Yeah.
The majority of the people spoke Aramaic. The only ones that spoke Hebrew was a very few amount of the people, and then the Pharisees and Sadducees.
Yeah, the priests.
Yeah, the priests. Jesus spoke mainly, and he could speak Hebrew too, but he mainly spoke Aramaic. And the Spirit of truth then is the breath of teaching that flows through us. In Aramaic, it's breath of true being. It's R-U-K-H-A-D-Q-U-S-H-A-T-A. Pronounce that, honey. R-U-K-H-A-D-Q-U-S-H-T-A. Breath of true being. I called her honey because she's my adopted sister. Daughter, my adopted daughter. Yeah. And then witness means to bear inner testimony. It means to affirm what is realized or what's understanding. And then from the beginning means from the origin, not from time. There is no time in Elohim Ruach breath. There is no distance. So from the beginning is origin, and the origin always has been. It's source, it's Elohim Ruach, whatever you want to use. If you want to use Father, Chi, whatever. So here Jesus shifts from this outer form of this teaching to this inner continuation, this movement and action of the Logos. Remember, I told you that the letters ek and the ecclesia means the point whence movement and action flows. That's us. You want God to do something? You want Spirit to do something? You want Holy Spirit to come down like we were taught? You need the release because it's in you. It's not out there somewhere. So the phrase, when the consecrated messenger comes to you, does not refer to a single event, but it's a continual movement of the Logos within consecrated awarenesses. And we have been consecrated. Kay Fairchild has a people following her and her that have been consecrated. I'm sure I know there's other ministers out there that are consecrated, and they're consecrating other people. It's the greatest multi-level marketing program there ever was. And so this breath within, it teaches people. It comforts people. People need comforting. We're in a world today where people are terrified. You know, I don't know what you think about global, whatever you call it, global warming and all that. I don't follow it. I never have. But several people that have taught it before, they've come out and said they were wrong. It was designed to scare people. Everything that comes out of the systems of this earth is designed to scare you so they can control you. And that includes religion. So he says, whom I will further consecrate and equip and send. This reveals this ongoing process of growth. And when he said I, he actually was using the word I exist. And remember Moses said to Elohim Ruach, who sent me? And he heard, I exist, that I exist. So many times when Jesus said I, he was talking about I exist. He was talking about the Logos. The Logos been spoken, the Logos been used will consecrate more and more people. And so this sending represents this outward expressioning of an awakened understanding. Every consecrated messenger literally becomes the plural of Elohim Ruach, breath. And the word Elohim, it actually says we are the plural of Elohim. So that's what that's talking about. So the breath of understanding of Elohim is the divine activity, movement that communicates awareness. The breath is not a who, it's not a separate identity, but it's a living current of wisdom that's moving through us all the time. You know, I've sought so much how to explain heaven, and I did that the other day on Facebook. But I believe this Elohim Ruach breath is the greatest way to explain God. You know, whatever people think to be a God, because it's an energy, it's a flow, it's a movement, it's action, it's intelligent. You know, and people think, well, that's just really weird. Well, think about an atom in your body. They're so small you cannot see with your eyes, your physical eyes. But there's intelligence in that atom, is there not? Every cell has intelligence in it, and it does what it's supposed to do. It does what it's designed to do.
God's in it.
Ma'am?
Because God is in it.
Because Elohim Ruach breath is in that. So the same thing about man, and the problem was because man had, I guess you would say, a free will, man did not continue to do what man was formed and idealized from the foundation. But there are many that have awakened. We have no clue about what happened before the United States of America came into existence. We have no clue about those master comforter teachers over in the Middle East, how they function. They function like Jesus did. I've got books that I read where the communities around them, the people were so poor-minded, like they were when Jesus came and like they are today, that all they needed, they worried about is food, having enough to eat, you know, so they were always having to help them. And many, many times they would sit down at a table, there was nothing there. And then the master comforter teacher would say, you know, let us speak. And he'd begin to speak and he'd begin to give thanks. And I guess they shut their eyes or whatever. And when they open their eyes up and there's a banquet right there. I don't doubt it one bit. Jesus did it, didn't he? You know, so that's not the purpose. That's an indication. That's not a sign. I mean, a miracle. It is an indication of a person living out of their spiritual resources. I believe, and I believe you, and I believe many of you, we function in many ways living out of our spiritual resources. I know there's a lot of things that take place in me and my wife's life that is an indication that we're living out of our spiritual resources. And I desire very much that we get to that full place where everything that we have, everything that we are, everything we're learning to live out of our abundant life. Abundant life lacks nothing whatsoever. So he continues, they will bear witness was to what I taught. He said to witness in this context is to embody, or not merely to repeat it, but to embody what I taught. When you leave here today, when this goes off on the internet and you guys who are watching, when you walk away, my desire is that you will, I know you're listening attentively, but my desire is for you to embrace and to embody it. So as you go about your lives, what you're learning is showing forth in your life, and you're experiencing it fully. They carry forward this vibration, this essence, this same awareness that Jesus revealed. So finally he says, and you also will bear witness, because from the beginning you have been with me. So from the beginning here refers to more than just earthly disciples. It points to eternal origin. In other words, from the beginning, from the origin, you've always been with me, because we've always been one. We've always been one. And so they have always been one with that awareness that he expressed. Thus, their witness is not limited, but they need remembrance, and that's what he was there. He was to remind them who they are. So me always been with Jesus is the same thing as me always been with you. We've always all been together. We were just robbed of that understanding. But you have to admit with me, many times what we've taught, that you probably said, I knew this. I understand this.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. It bears witness, whatever you want.
It does. It lines up with your divine mind, what's inside of you already. So he assures them that the revelation will not end with him. He said the same breath that taught and comforted and empowered him will continue to do that through many, many others, generation after generation after generation. So the consecrated messengers are those whose awareness have opened to this creative spiritual movement and action, and we can hear, we hear the voice of Spirit, we do what Spirit says, our breath says, we say what we hear breath says, and we do what we see breath says. That's why I go about loving people, because I have finally, and not just recently, but in the last few years, I've finally realized that love is the most powerful thing there is. If we would just start loving people. I don't care who it is, what they look like. Don and I saw a man the other day walking. It was so pitiful looking, barely walking, had a blanket wrapped around. You could tell he was very poor, probably a street person. I didn't say it out loud, but I just began to speak to him. You're more than this. You're holy. You are upright. You have divine provision. I just began to speak that over him. And if I wasn't driving, if I was walking there, I would walk up to the man and talk to him and tell him I love him. Because it will change the world. And you have no idea what's happening to these people that we tell love. We probably will never see them again, but how much that's a seed of life that you plant within inside of them to know that they are loved. So this breath of understanding then, it just keeps moving and moving. And when we yield to this, we become witnesses. In other words, visible expressions of an invisible truth. That's who we are. So to bear witness is not to quote Jesus again, but it's to live as he lived in conscious union. That doesn't mean I have to give away everything I have, and those poor people that think they have to get a cross and walk around like that. That's not what it's talking about. It's live the way he did. He lived in perfect union. He lived in peace. He was at peace with everything that was going on. He understood what was going to happen, and I was told when I was first called and said, I'm going to make you like a Jeremiah, I knew what would happen in the future. I didn't understand the totality of it because I thought it was sinners that were going to reject me. I didn't know it was Christians that were going to reject me, but I understood it. So before form, before religion, before separation, they were one with Logos. When I came out of my mama's womb, I was one with Logos, totally one. And then it was up to my mom and dad pretty much how I was raised. But once I became old enough to listen for myself, then fortunately I wasn't so tainted with all that. I was able to hear, we want more. And Donna started that. We were very much dissatisfied with what we've been taught. So we had a path we had to go through. First of all, we met John Corson on the internet. I never met him in person, but we studied there. And then next thing you know, Gary Garner. And Gary Garner just changed our lives. I never learned the Bible like I learned it through him. And John Cahill, Kelly Varner, and other ministers, Scotty Todd. We had a lot of ministers in my life. And then I met Kay Fairchild. And I would say Kay Fairchild was my first real comforter messenger that helped me wake up, really, to who I was. And she was still in the redemptive view, but she was beginning to seek it. And I was not dumb. I said, I'm going to follow this woman. And I'm going to teach what she's teaching until I could do more myself. So it's been a marvelous journey. And so Elohim breath in you would speak the following from this. The work of Logos continues in you. The consecrated messengers I send from the breath of understanding will arise in your own awareness, reminding you of all truth. They will not always come from outside, but also from within, as the voice of the eternal breath flowing through you. So see, you can hear that yourself. Once you quieten yourself and let go of all the false, you will begin to hear, and I know you guys do, more and more and more. Bear witness not by speech alone, but by the life lived in love. From the beginning, you were within Elohim Ruach breath, one awareness, and one eternal movement of truth. Isn't that powerful? All right, just a little bit more and I'll finish here. My heart said amen. That's what I'm going to start saying. All right. So in this portion of John's gospel, Jesus opens the inner door to the heart of the Logos life. These conversations are being very intimate. I would love to have walked on that walk with him, but I believe we're doing it now. I hope you can feel that. I hope you can sense this is a very intimate time. I can't wait to get to John 17 because that's his high priestly prayer. And so his purpose in speaking was never to bind people to law or religion, but to be awakened. He never came to start Christianity. Never, ever. I watched a movie not too long ago. I put it on Facebook, a little story about it. But I watched a movie, and the president had died, and the vice president needed to be sworn in really quick. And they were over in London. And they needed a Bible, and they could not find a Bible. Some guy comes in with this beautiful old book, and he said, well, let's just use this. And the vice president, or the person, the Speaker of the House said, the people in the world are going to know that's not a Bible. Somebody get out there and find me a Bible written by Jesus. I just laughed. It was so funny. It was hilarious to me. Why did I? Huh?
You forgot the French line.
What?
That other guy said.
Oh, that other guy said, sir, the Bible was not written by Jesus. That's right. He told him the Bible was not written by Jesus. Thank you, baby. I was thinking, what did I leave out there? So.
The Bible was not written by Jesus.
No. So this portion here again is Jesus opening this inner door within. And when he said, I am the door, he's actually saying, I exist as the door. I know that hurts people because they love Jesus. I love Jesus too. But guess what? I love other teachers too. But I exalt Jesus highly because I know he literally gave up his life. But think about this. Every disciple gave up their life. Did they not? They suffered tremendously also. John the Apostle was boiled in oil, and he had so much life in him that he didn't die. John the Baptist, his head was cut off. The Apostle Paul, whom I love very much, he went and let the Romans cut his head off. There were people, they were flayed. I mean, it's horrible. And yet, I know this is hard, but all messengers that really go against the system, they're going to be shot at, they're going to be crucified, they're going to be whatever it is. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful. So this, and I honor them. So this joy is not emotional. It's not a pleasure thing, but it's a quiet realization. It's a steady current flowing that flows our awareness, and it flows through us. And I think I've put 2 pages over. No, I did not. Excuse me. One time I was teaching years ago, and I flipped 5 pages by mistake. And nobody said anything. All of a sudden, I was just on another subject. Remember that? Tree of Life. So I got to the end, I thought, well, where's all the other stuff I was going to teach?
Oh, my gosh.
That was when I was immature and dumb. Don't say you still are. I know. So he then offers this sacred prescription. And I point for those who didn't listen last week, the word law and the word commandment means prescription. It's a prescription for living. You go to a doctor, and the doctor says you need to take 3 of these pills every day for a week. And you go back to the doctor and say, I feel so bad. Well, did you take the pills? I took a couple of them. Is that going to help you? No. And you know what sometimes people do? And I'm not trying to get you to come to church. Sometimes they only come to church when they need something.
Oh, sure.
You know, but they're not partaking of what they need to partake, and they're wondering why it's not working. So this prescription that he gives, it's sacred, and you're going to say, oh, I've heard it before. Love one another as I have loved you. That's it. That's the most powerful statement, because he loved them. He gave his life to them. He was willing to be abused by the religious leaders, and he did not give up. And this is not a commandment to obey, but it's a invitation to remember your true nature. Your true nature is love. I don't care. It matters not how you're acting. It matters not what you've done. It matters not what people have said about you. Your true nature is love. And so love without a cause does not seek repayment. I don't have to have a reason to love you. I don't need a reward for it. It just simply flows if you let it flow. So it's the nature of the divine expression through awakened awareness. We live from this love. We reveal Father's essence to the world. I tell you what, I would rather love everybody than know everything there is.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Anne, I think you were telling me about a lady that went to church once recently, and that the big reason she went is that they loved her. You remember this just the other day? The pastor just radiated love. And, you know, according to the denomination, I may think, well, he's probably not teaching her truth. But wait a minute, the love is the truth. The love is the truth. And so if he loves that much, he's probably not condemning them with the Bible. I highly would think that to be true. So in calling his followers, his friends, and by the way, that wasn't just 12 disciples with him. It was Mary Magdalene. It was Mary Bethany. It was several other people. I mean, we're fooling ourselves when we think only 12 people walked around Jesus. He had too much love. So he had a pretty good group following him around. And Jesus ends this illusion of hierarchy. And people ask me, I've got a lady want me to write an article about hierarchy and leadership. Well, it's real easy. Nobody is better than you are. Nobody. Just because I have 2 doctorate degrees and 3 master's degrees doesn't mean I'm any better than you. But you should treat me better. No. But nobody's any better. And Jesus was saying, I am no better than you. But I will say this. If you're in a system, there has to be leadership. I mean, bottom line, if you're in a church and you have buildings and you have expenses and you have programs going, then there has to be Sunday school leaders and, there has to be a pastor. There has to be a vice pastor, or associate pastor, whatever. But they should be doing that out of love.
Yes.
So, but hierarchy, no, nobody's in it. We're all one. There's nothing else. So it is the nature of the divine expressing through our awareness. When we live from this love, we reveal Father's essence to the world. Everywhere you go, you'll get to the point where a lot of people say, do I know you? You ever had that happen? I know you had to have it. Do I know you? I think I do. You look like somebody I know. But what it is, it's Elohim Ruach. It's you're breathing out the same breath. And we see it in people. So what Father revealed to him, he has revealed to us. And what he lived, we can live now. We don't have to wait for something to happen. We don't have to wait for a Jesus to come back and change this world. I don't know where Jesus is, but I can tell you where his spirit is. He's right here in me, his breath. I can tell you where his mind is. It's right here in me. The Bible says, John, I think it was Apostle John said, let this same mind be in you that was in Jesus. He considered it not robbery to be equal with God, but he humbled himself and became a servant. So I have the divine mind. I think I'm very intelligent, but I am a servant. I'm not here for you to serve me. I'm here to serve you. And I write that on Facebook all the time. I live to serve. I live to give. I love to give. I'm telling you, if I had millions of dollars, I'd be out giving money nonstop.
You wouldn't have a
I wouldn't have it tomorrow. But Donna would put half of it aside. But I do love to give. I love to cook for people. I love to paint for people. I mean, I've always been that way, and I enjoy it. It's what helps me. So these two verses invites us to rest in love, to allow the Logos to rise within inside of us. As we live from the state of friendship and love, we fulfill this purpose. There are some people that I know that are hard to love sometimes. I have friends that sometimes are kind of hard. I shouldn't say hard to love. It's just they're kind of rough and a little hard to be around sometimes. But I still love them. I still call them. I let them know I love them. Would you quit that? Ushers, would you take my wife out? She's wanting me to get on with my notes.
Get on with your sermon.
Shame on her. Next Sunday it's going to be all about you. But what I was getting ready to say, those are the people that we need to love the most. Those are the people that we need to send love to. Those are the people. And maybe that's just a sign that they're needing help. And rather than you not liking them, it might be better to love them physically, if you would. So in this portion of John's Gospel, Jesus opens this door to this heart awareness. He reveals true love. He reveals love by revealing friendship. Friendship begins to rise from this awareness, and his purpose is speaking was never again to bind to religion, but to loosen us from what we had allowed to bind to us. I was bound in religion. I'll never forget, and it always comes to my remembrance, my dear friend Bob that we went to church with. He was one of the associate pastors, and he got a divorce. And back then, I was very much against divorce. I thought it was a sin because I was raised that way. And literally, I went to the pastor and said, I really don't think he should be teaching the adult Sunday school class since he's divorced. And I forget what he told me. He probably called me a blooming idiot. I think he kind of understood a little bit. But you know what? It wasn't but about 6 months later I had to go to him and apologize. Because all of a sudden, I was teaching marriage classes. And all of a sudden, I realized marriage is not an endurance contest. It's not. If you're married and you fight all the time and you don't ever ask for forgiveness and your children hearing it, they're all been hurt, it's better off just to break it off. Protect one another. I'm not for divorce, but it can happen. But I'm just telling you, that was where I was at before. But I let the guy know I love him very much, and I have no ought against him whatsoever, and he thanked me for it because he knew in his heart the way I was treating him. He could tell it. It was affecting the way I treated the man. So it's important for this love to overwhelm us. So he then offers this sacred prescription again, love one another as I've loved you. So in calling his friends here, he's helping them, if you would. He's helping them to realize more and more and more that love is all it's about. So as we live from this state of oneness and this state of love, we fulfill the purpose of our existence. People ask me all the time, I don't know why I'm here. Well, why don't you start with love? Even John Lennon talked about it. All kinds of songs. Love's what the world, all we need is love. You know, they weren't Christians, but I think they were Buddhists, but they knew it. All we need is love. So we fulfill that purpose to express the breath freely. We awaken joy in others, and we let our light shine, and we don't let Satan blow it out. Remember that song, Don't Let the Devil Blow It Out? We let our light shine in every word and every deed. Every word that comes out of our mouth, we need to allow it to be love. So what we need to do is listen to our conversations. Listen to our thoughts. And the minute a bad thought comes, stop it. Paul said, if there's anything worth thinking on, think on these things. And the word things in the Bible is the Logos. Almost every time it's used, it's the Logos of the word. Think on this spiritual creative movement and action that reveals the law of abundant life. So if what you say is not revealing abundant life, don't say it. Think before you talk. Amen?
Amen.
Any comments?
That's good.
I want comments from you sometime. I know your head's full of them. All right. Love you guys very much. Sorry we had to turn the program on and off. Some way or another, the internet was acting up, but we finally got it. David, thank you for being here. I see you almost every Sunday on here. Dan Taylor, he's saying hi. He wants to say hi. Let's talk this week. Give me a call again. I miss you. Love you. Bye-bye.